Philippines and around the world.
Hello.
This is Yuki, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, today is another special episode as we will be joined by someone who doesn't look like a Taiwanese, but who feels like a Taiwanese. Is it true, Barry? Do you feel like a Taiwanese already?
I guess in many ways. Yeah. I've adapted to the culture here. Been here a long time.
Oh yeah, so that's my first question. How long have you been here in Taiwan, or when did you arrive here?
We came full time in 1988. So that means about 80% of the time from 1988 till now we've been here in Taiwan.
Okay, so have you been to other places to do missions also aside from Taiwan?
Not
So
long term, just um, I've done a trip into mainland China with some pastors, but for 11 days. I did a short-term trip to
mm-hmm.
Honduras when I was on a home assignment once with the church that we were working with.
And how long was that?
That was just like a week and a half in
Okay.
Honduras. So that was 19 a long time ago. So like 1995.
So Honduras and then China?
And China, mainland China, yeah. So for ministry stuff.
Okay.
And I've just traveled to other countries in Asia, but more for conferences.
Okay, so not for
Yeah.
for missions or
Right.
something like that.
Not specifically to do mission work.
Okay. What made you stay in Taiwan, and why didn't you like choose any other place?
Ooh, actually, I
Or
came.
why didn't you stay in Honduras back then or in China?
Okay. Yeah. Um, I came to Taiwan first as a short-term missionary.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived here for a year with a Chinese family and studied Mandarin for like 4 hours a week and worked in the church, taught an English class, English classes in the evenings. And so that's how I learned about the culture and the food and the people. At the end of the year, I discovered I can learn Mandarin. The people are nice. The food is great. The weather's a little bit hot most of the time, but and some of the pastors and the missionaries who were there at that time said, after you finish seminary, would you consider coming back full time? Mm. And someone had once said, the question shouldn't be if I should go and serve overseas or serve God somewhere. The question is why shouldn't I? If I know I can do that, why shouldn't I be doing it? If that's really where God can use me. So I said, unless God clearly leads me somewhere else, I'll come back to Taiwan. So that was in 1982. I went back home, went to seminary, met my wife during seminary. We got married, and then we came back here in 1988.
So what are the adjustments you made like for those times, the earlier times you're here? Like, are there major adjustments in the family, or
it was it was easier for me coming in 1988 because I'd lived here for a year and I knew kind of what to expect. So my wife came just having heard stories that I told her about Taiwan. So and it's much different hearing stories than actually experiencing it. And we came the end of April, and it was just when the weather had shifted from kind of the milder spring weather to the hot, humid, dense summer weather.
Right.
And so we got off the plane. It was like you're walking into a wall of humidity. And so it was like she was ready to, after about a week, she's ready to go home. And then a typhoon came. And the typhoon hit Kaohsiung where we were, and it cleaned the air. It took all the humidity and just sucked it away. And for 2 or 3 days after the typhoon, the weather was beautiful.
Wow.
And she said, if it gets like this every once in a while, I think I can do this. So, but she had, it was her first time, so she had to make the adjustments in terms of food and trying to buy things. So we started language study pretty quick after we got here. So she learned, and then she was able to buy things and figure out some things in society.
So how long did you learn Taiwanese?
We studied Taiwanese 2 years full time.
Wow. Okay.
That's like
Is that every day?
3 hours a day. Yeah. And then 2 more years part-time.
Mm.
Um, so it's 15 hours a week full-time, and then 6 to 8 hours part-time.
Okay.
Yeah. So our whole first term is basically learning the language, adjusting to the culture. We served with local pastors in their churches, and they kind of showed us how to do ministry.
Mm. Can you give us a statistics of the religion here in Taiwan?
When we got here in 1988, the figure that people would use is that Taiwan was about 1.5% Christian. That meant maybe 1% that had a saving faith in Jesus, because they included all anything they could label Christian in that 1.5%. Now it's, I believe, about 5.5 to 6%
Oh,
island
that's
wide.
true.
In the cities, there are areas that are 8% Christian. That's been amazing growth. The gospel's been here, or missionaries have been here sharing the gospel since 1867 when I first got
Yeah,
here. No,
yeah. And the ride
1867.
at Chijin.
But it's always been very, very slow, very, very slow.
Yeah.
And but now in these last 15 or 20 years, we've seen a change in attitude towards coming to faith in Christ.
Mm.
So we're hoping that continues and the church continues to grow.
So, what do you do as a missionary?
Um,
Give us an overview.
um, what I do, I work with a bilingual ministry,
Mm.
which is why my Taiwanese has not improved lately. Um, and the goal in our bilingual ministry is to reach out to the expatriates who live here, the foreigners who live here. And also there are many Taiwanese who come back from overseas and they've been exposed to Christ overseas. And some of them have made decisions there and they're looking for a place to worship, and they've gotten used to worshiping in English. So we want to be here as a resource, and then train them and some of the young people who feel called by God to serve, to equip them to serve as missionaries in other countries, prepare them for cross-cultural ministries. So that's one of our long-term goals at bilingual ministries at Ujang. So and then just doing evangelism and outreach. My classes during the week, several of them are focused on non-believers. People bring their friends. So you want to study English, there's a Bible study. You can study English. You can ask whatever question you want. Pastor Barry doesn't care. So they come and they start. And so I share from the Bible with them, and then their friends also follow up with them, outside of class. So it's a real thorough approach. We've seen some good results in these last couple of years now.
Does that mean that you train like Taiwanese to send them to missions in other countries?
There are organizations that do like the actual missionary training, but what we do is help them with their English, and English Bible, and also as they think about things like adjusting to new cultures, how to handle that. And so we've had people come back from missionary service and come and ask us questions. And we got this problem. What can we do? How do we work through that? So, yeah.
So for those new missionaries, or let's say like what do you advise them? Like, why are you passionate about missions? What made you passionate about it?
Missions was always important in my life and Peggy's life. Growing up, we both went to churches that had a strong emphasis on missions, and we would have host missionaries coming through, and often our families would have them over for dinner. After the service, we'd hear the stories, hear what's going on, and so missions was kind of, we were aware of missions and the needs of missions, and I think that's, in one sense, that's really an important thing, because it's easy to stay focused on what's happening right here, and especially places that are just kind of still on the receiving end of missionaries, to give the vision that it's supposed to come full circle, that we receive God's word, we respond, we mature, we grow, and then God calls us to, we plant churches, and we start, church grows in our Jerusalem and then Judea and Samaria, but then we're supposed to go to the ends of the earth too. And so being part of that in a larger church helps to remind people that this is really what we're about. It's not just about what's going on here.
Yeah. How you become a missionary. For example, like there are people watching this vlog and they want to be a missionary. How can you become a missionary? Are
Well,
there any requirements to be a missionary?
well, the tradition, or the traditional answer kind of is that you're a missionary wherever you are, right?
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
supposed to be. We're all supposed to be sharing Christ wherever we are. That Christ has put us. That Jesus put us where we are for a reason, and that we represent Him here. For people who want to do cross-cultural missions, a good way to start is by looking for people who are among you from different cultures. See, when we first came to Taiwan was pretty much monocultural. Well, Han Chinese.
Yeah.
Now, there were tensions between different groups of Han Chinese, but they were basically Han Chinese, and so we still stick out like a sore thumb. We don't look like many people here. But now there are many other groups around from Southeast Asia. You guys are from the Philippines, Indonesia, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Korea, Japan. There are people from all over Europe, Africa. But connecting, or trying to connect with those people, is a good way to sense and find out, am I really, as missions, overseas missions, cross-cultural missions, really what God is calling me to do? So you can work with people in your own backyard, as they say, and it's really cool, because when we go on home assignment, there's a guy up in a church in Maine, and he's too old to be an overseas missionary, but what he does is he reaches out to the foreign students at the University of Maine, and so he's as much a missionary, cross-cultural missionary, as I am. He just gets to go home to his home country every day. So, but he looked for a way to serve, that where God could use him, and he really wanted to reach out, and he had a passion for reaching out to foreign students, and it's been very, very successful at that, I understand. So that's a good way to check and kind of put a fleece out for.
Okay, which leads me to my last question. What is your most meaningful or impactful experience as a missionary that you want to share with us?
I guess because not many people have come to Christ, especially in the early years we were here. One thing that made a big impact on us was when we lived in Tainan and started a church there. There was a woman came to my English class for a year and a half, 2 years, and she seemed very interested, and then she just disappeared, dropped off. It was like she dropped off the face of the earth, and didn't hear from her anything. And we finished with that church. We moved on, and it's like 6 or 8 years later, 10 years later, we were at a concert at the mission school here in Kaohsiung, and we sat down, and I heard footsteps approaching rapidly from behind me, because we were sitting on the road, and so you could tell when they're coming towards you, right towards you, and so I turned around, and this woman was there, and she said, "Oh, someone said you might be here tonight. I wanted so much to find you. I wanted to tell you that I'm a Christian now." I can't remember exactly what the situation was, but she couldn't come to English class anymore. And but she had in her office there was a woman who was a Christian,
Mm.
and she was having all kinds of trouble. And she turned to this Christian woman, and the woman started to witness to her, and she started remembering all the stuff that she had studied in class. And she says, because of your class, I, I was listening to what this woman said, and when she shared Jesus with me, I was ready to put my faith in Jesus.
Wow.
And now I'm a Christian. I've been baptized, and I go to church all the time. So that just showed us that even when we think, you know, she's gone, who knows what's going to happen with her? God keeps track of them, and He sends the other people. It's like Paul says, you know, I planted the seed, Apollos watered, God
Yeah.
brings the harvest.
Wow.
And so that's what kind of gives us hope no matter what. When we
Right.
see people
Yeah.
for a while and they disappear and we don't know what happens, often a few years down the road, they'll come back and say, hey, I
Yeah.
really appreciated what you guys did, or being able to attend a Bible study and learn about Jesus from you guys. So
That's right. Yeah. Because, like, for example, for me, I easily get this discouraged when I
Yeah.
see people not coming back.
Mhm.
So, but that's a good story.
Yeah.
It's an inspiration too. That's it for today, guys. I hope you guys learned something from today's episode. And always remember that you are deeply loved. So just keep on smiling. Stay safe, everyone. Bye bye.